open with ourselves, if we're honest with ourselves and we're open about things we're feeling or thinking, it's a lot easier to follow up and be accountable to ourselves and others. And these are the first steps, frankly, in self-healing. And it can be healing for other people too, because when you change your energy and you change your energetic vibration, then people around you are affected by this. That's the old Heisenberg principle of, one body of energy impacting another body of energy. So explore and consider coaching or therapy as a way to grab the reins of your mental well-being. Here's another way. Find a way to eliminate friction, or what we might call in coaching tolerations in your life. If you were to write out a list of all the different things you're tolerating in your life, anything from, like my recycle bin on the house I just left was broken. So every time I lifted it, it would almost cut my finger. But I tolerated that. I just never really put the mental thought into, I really should order a new recycle bin so I don't cut my finger every week when I put my recycling out. That was a toleration. You might be tolerating the fact that the kind of tea you have in your house isn't really the kind of tea that you like, or the kind of honey you have isn't the kind of honey you like in your tea. Or maybe it's that, like I just noticed today, I have it set up in my current arrangement where my notebook where I write notes is to the left of my computer. And I'm tolerating having to cross over because I'm a right-handed writer. So I think I really need to change where my position is of my computer and my notebooks so I can write on the right side and not have to contort my body to reach across the computer and risk turning the thing off or clicking a key that I don't want to click. So whatever these tolerations are, it could be the job you have or the boss you have. It could be where you're living. It could be the relationship you have with your spouse or your children. It could be, deep stuff as well as ordinary things that just sort of niggle at you in daily life. And the reality is a lot of these nigglings really do add up and compound. So find ways to reduce friction in your life or reduce tolerations. I used to know a guy, Dean Jackson was his name, and he used to talk about being friction-free. And what I remember about him being his example of being friction-free was, since toilet paper is in the news here with this pandemic, he started with, he hated having to change the toilet paper roll with those springy things that go in the circle in the middle of the toilet roll. So he changed all the toilet roll holders in his house to the type where you just slide the roll on the end. So that was his first example of living friction-free. Hey, whatever it takes. And then also like Steve Jobs, his thing to reduce friction was to cut down unnecessary decisions. And so you might have noticed he always wore black turtlenecks. It became a kind of a uniform for him in terms of what he would wear all the time. And he just said, I don't need to use up my mental RAM making decisions on what to wear. So I'll just wear this kind of uniform every day. And it sort of became cognizant of that was Steve Jobs, and that was how he was going to show up. So whatever it is for you in terms of reducing friction and reducing tolerations in your life. But the first thing is to find out what they are. So identify them and then just see what you can do to get rid of them. Now, here's another one. Look for places to create. And to create in margin or cushions of resilience or cushions of excess resources so that you're not always sort of grating on the wheel or running on empty. So when you can expand and build in extra resources. Now, sometimes it's as simple as I said earlier, getting enough sleep. So your cushion of personal resilience because you are well rested is a great place to start. Sometimes it's by simply having on hand vitamins or having on hand I use a leave if I have a headache or something like that. So you just build in the resources that allow you to leverage your time, to keep going, to take time out also at the same time. And they feed your emotional well-being. Sometimes it includes money. So saving money so you don't always have to be fearful of how you're going to survive financially. And sometimes it can be time. So maybe you can build in time in your day where you do nothing, and practicing doing nothing to give you the reserves of patience, giving you the reserves of letting your emotion, your imagination and your creativity run free, having time to have an important discussion or chat with someone. Simply because you've made the time, all of a sudden you become available. And so this is a way, again, this characteristics of resetting your chaotic brain is to look for places to build in a cushion of resilience, build in margins of joy. You know, I made the discovery at one point, you know, you kind of have to think after the fact, well, duh. But I never used to value enjoyment. You know, when people always said, oh, their goal in life was to enjoy it. Until I made the connection with the spelling of enjoy, E-N-J-O-Y, and I realized it was very close to enjoy, to live in joy. Now that I could identify with. And so one of the ways I like to build in this margin is by, in fact, following some of these other things, stacking things that matter to me or are comfortable to me or that I value, so that I can live in joy. And I use my joy meter as one of the ways to measure joie de vivre, which is one of my life values, and a sense of inner equilibrium. If something doesn't feel in joy, I veer away from it unless it's something I actually have to do. In fact, I have a quote from Helen Keller where she said, joy is the holy fire that keeps our purpose warm and our intelligence aglow. She was quite an amazing lady, wasn't she, given all she went through? So just to wrap up here, in order to grab the reins of your mental well-being, you need to gain control of your runaway brain. Now, your brain, of course, is the physical organ that houses, we think, as far as we know, your mind. So you're really gaining control of your mind, and your brain then just will follow out that input of your mind, and then your brain will give your body the outputs. So since we live in times of fear, stress, uncertainty, anxiety, and all of those things, we want to focus more on hope and joy and goodness and kindness. The reality is, will we return to a so-called norm? Yes, it will be some kind of a norm or normal, but not the normal we know today. It'll be a new norm. There'll be different issues. We're going to have to face professional or work or career-related issues, financial and economic issues, relationship issues, even possibly a change in your own identity, because you're going to experience yourself being a different person during this time. And how cool is that? I think it's really cool. For a lot of people, it's scary when you deal with identity and identity changes, but that's what life is about. As we say, you know, as long as you're alive, we still have things to learn. So why not make the most of it? It is key, however, to, you know, as I said, build in a sense of routine in the morning and in the evening. It's a key to stay connected, but be careful of how much or too much exposure on TV news and social media, anything that just dumps a lot of bad news on you. You want to keep connected with good news and people who support you. The reality is, you know, nobody knows what our time is left on this earth, if we're going to get sick, if our time is up, or someone we know, their time is up if they get sick. We are all in this together to a certain degree. And according to Wynton Marsalis, the jazz musician, he said, If we can master the moment of chaos, it requires marshaling our forces to meet the demand. So my invitation to you is to call on all of your amazing resources, because you've built up a margin of resilience, a cushion of resilience. You get a grip on yourself and consolidate what you know and find the gaps of what you don't know yet or haven't experienced yet in life. And then make sure in the time we have left, time you have left, which none of us knows how long that is, go for it. Live a life of joie de vivre. Live a life in joy and leverage this time of difficulty and difference and turn it into a creative masterpiece of your own making. So I'm here supporting you. Thank you for being here with us here on Living Legacy Leadership. Thank you to my wonderful producer, Joe. And do look up the archival shows on sobradionetwork.com. You can also check in with what's going on gamechangerthinking.com. So this is me reminding you, the life you live is the legacy you leave. Bye-bye.